Joined now by Dan Reynish. He is a music expert and a former broadcaster at CBC Radio. He joins me now in studio. Dan, thank you for coming in. I'm sorry we have to talk about the loss of a legendary guitarist. When you heard the news, what did you think?
The thing about Malcolm dying is the dementia that you mentioned he suffered from, he's been suffering from for the last 2 or 3 years. So this is a date that we knew was coming. Much like the death of Gord Downie, we knew it was coming. That doesn't make it any softer. You still think of those great riffs that he played with his brother, and I think of the fact that Angus is now the lone surviving brother. Their other brother, George, just died in October, so he's lost 2 brothers in the span of a couple of months. I started to think of the family, and as always, when it comes to the death of a musician like this, I think of the fans and people who love ACDC have that music cranked around the world today.
Well, tell us about that music, because there's lots of heavy metal bands, lots of bands from the 70s and 80s. What made ACDC unique? What made him unique?
I've heard ACDC described from time to time as the McDonald's of hard rock. Led Zeppelin is Led Zeppelin. The Rolling Stones, who had some big hits in the 70s, are the Rolling Stones. But ACDC was just out there chugging along, surviving disco, surviving punk, and making hits in music like Touch Too Much and albums like Highway to Hell and records and riffs that just kept people rocking and kept people going. They sort of had a down period in the 80s with some albums like Flick of the Switch and Fly on the Wall that didn't really register with other fans, the people that came in for Back in Black and for those about to rock. But the true fans, they stuck with the band all the way through their most recent album, which was, in a lot of part of the world, a Walmart exclusive.
Okay. But as you mentioned, he worked with 2 other brothers on the band. So what was his contribution? What did he bring that was unique?
He was the driving force. He was the guy. So you had the other 2 brothers doing their thing, and you had George producing them, but you had Angus and Malcolm writing the lyrics and writing the words, and that was the situation, whereas Malcolm was such the driving force behind it. He was the machine behind ACDC.
And how did ACDC then go on to influence other bands?
There's so many bands out there today whose riffs you can hear a little bit of an ACDC lick in. The band Jet is the greatest example of that. The song, Am I Gonna Be Your Girl? You can totally hear ACDC in there. You can hear their riffs because they were unique and anybody could get into them. Back in Black, which you played, You Shook Me All Night Long, and their classic hits. This is music that people knew when you hear it, you knew it was ACDC. There's a generation of guitarists out there influenced by their music.
What's your favorite song and why?
I would probably have to say Touch Too Much in the album Highway to Hell. My friends and I, we were playing hockey in Europe at the time and driving through Germany, listening to this album on the bus after a hockey tournament. There's so many great memories like that. And then the first time we got Back in Black and my friend Mike Lynch and I sat down and listened to it. And there's moments like that where you can remember listening to their albums because they were so seminal and so important. And this band is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and there was never a doubt that they were ever going to go in there.